Are you feeling stuck in life right now? Like life is happening to you and not for you. You watch other people succeed while you struggle. You set goals, but nothing changes. You think positive thoughts, but your bank account stays the same. Your relationships stay broken. Your dreams feel impossible. What if I told you there's a man who discovered the secret to bending reality itself? His name was Neville Goddard, and he taught something so radical that most people can't believe it's true. He said that reality, your entire world, bends to your imagination, not your actions, not your hard work, not your luck, your imagination. This sounds crazy, right? But Neville wasn't some dreamy mystic sitting in a cave. He was one of the most practical teachers of the 20th century. He showed thousands of people how to command reality with their thoughts. Students got dream jobs, broke people became wealthy, sick people healed, impossible relationships happened. Here's what's different about Neville. He didn't teach you to ask the universe for things. He taught you to assume you already have them. He didn't teach you to visualize and hope. He taught you to feel it real and know it's done. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to do this. You'll learn the 3 techniques that can literally reshape your world. But more importantly, you'll understand the deeper shift that makes it all work. This isn't about positive thinking. This isn't about manifestation tricks. This is about understanding the true nature of reality itself. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. So let's dive into the teachings of the man who said, "Man is all imagination, and God is man, and exists in us, and we in him." Neville Goddard was born in 1905 on a small island called Barbados. He wasn't born wealthy. He wasn't born special. He was just a regular guy who discovered something extraordinary about how the world really works. In the 1920s, Neville moved to New York City. He wanted to be an actor and dancer, but like most dreamers in the big city, he struggled. He was broke. He was unknown. He felt powerless. Then something happened that changed his life forever. Neville met a mysterious teacher named Abdullah. This man taught him ancient wisdom about the power of imagination. But Abdullah didn't just teach theory. He made Neville test it. He made him prove it worked. Neville wanted to visit his family in Barbados, but he had no money for the trip. Abdullah told him to imagine he was already there, to feel the tropical air, to see his family's faces, to assume it was done. Neville thought this was nonsense, but he tried it anyway. Within days, his brother sent him a ticket, for no reason at all. This was Neville's first taste of what he would later call the law of assumption, and it changed everything. For the next 40 years, Neville taught this principle to anyone who would listen. He spoke to packed halls across America. He wrote books. He recorded lectures. But he never charged much money. He wasn't trying to get rich. He was trying to share a truth. What was that truth? Imagination creates reality. Neville taught that your imagination isn't just daydreaming. It's the creative force of the universe. When you truly imagine something, when you feel it real in your mind, you set forces in motion that must bring it into your physical world. He said, "Man is all imagination." Everything around you started as someone's imagination. Your house, your phone, your car. Even your problems started in someone's imagination, maybe your own. But here's the key. If imagination created your current reality, imagination can change it. Neville didn't teach this as a theory. He taught it as a fact, and he spent his life proving it worked. Now let's get to the heart of Neville's teaching. He called it the law of assumption. Here's how it works. Whatever you assume to be true becomes true in your experience. Not eventually, not if you're lucky, always. But wait, this isn't the same as wishful thinking. Most people confuse these two things, and that's why they fail. Wishful thinking sounds like this: I hope I get that job. I wish I had more money. Maybe someday I'll find love. Wishful thinking is weak. It's desperate. It focuses on what you don't have. Assumption is completely different. Assumption sounds like this: I have the job. I am wealthy. I am loved. Assumption is certain. it's calm. It focuses on what you already possess, in imagination. Here's what modern science is starting to prove. Your brain doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you imagine something clearly, your brain creates the same neural pathways as if it actually happened. Athletes use this all the time. They mentally rehearse their performance, and their actual performance improves. Why? Because the brain has already practiced success. But Neville took this much further. He said that when you assume something in imagination, you don't just change your brain, you change reality itself. Let me give you an example. Imagine a woman named Sarah. She's been struggling financially for years. Every month, she barely pays her bills. She applies for better jobs but gets rejected. She feels trapped. Most people in Sarah's situation do one of two things. They either worry constantly about money, which creates more financial problems, or they try to think positive thoughts, which feels fake because their bank account is still empty. But what if Sarah used Neville's method? Instead of hoping for money, Sarah would assume she already has it. She would imagine checking her bank balance and seeing abundance. She would feel the relief and gratitude of being financially free. She would live in her imagination as someone who never worries about money. This isn't pretending. This isn't lying to herself. This is choosing to experience the feeling of her desire fulfilled right now in imagination. According to Neville, when Sarah truly assumes this feeling, her outer world must change to match it. New opportunities appear. People offer her better jobs. Money comes from unexpected sources. Why does this work? Neville taught that imagination is the creative power of God working through you. When you imagine something, you're not just hoping it happens, you're actually creating it. But here's the crucial part. You have to assume it's already done. Not that it will happen, not that it might happen, that it has happened. This is the difference between people who succeed with Neville's teachings and people who fail. Successful people assume their desire is already fulfilled. They live from that assumption. Unsuccessful people assume they're still waiting for their desire to appear. Neville's first technique, living in the end, is the foundation of everything Neville taught. Instead of thinking about what you want, you imagine you already have it. Instead of working toward your goal, you live from your goal. Here's how to do it step by step. First, get clear on your desire. Not what you think you should want, not what other people expect. What do you actually want? Be specific. Be honest. Second, create a scene that would only be true if your desire were fulfilled. This scene should be short and simple, something you could experience in 30 seconds or less. For example, if you want a new job, don't imagine the interview. Don't imagine getting the call. Imagine yourself already working there. Maybe you're sitting at your new desk, opening an email that says, "Welcome to the team." Maybe you're shaking hands with your new boss after your first successful project. If you want to heal from an illness, don't imagine going to the doctor. Imagine someone congratulating you on your perfect health. Imagine running upstairs without getting tired. Imagine throwing away the medicine you no longer need. The key is this: your scene must imply your desire is already done. Third, make it feel real. This is where most people mess up. They visualize like they're watching a movie, but Neville taught something different. You must experience your scene from the inside. See it through your own eyes. Feel it with your own body. Hear it with your own ears. When you imagine shaking hands with your new boss, feel the firmness of their grip. When you imagine being healthy, feel the energy in your muscles. When you imagine being loved, feel the warmth in your chest. Fourth, add the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is the secret ingredient. As you run your scene, feel grateful, feel satisfied, feel the relief of having what you wanted. This feeling is more important than the images. Here's a story from one of Neville's students. A man wanted to marry a specific woman, but she was engaged to someone else. Every night before sleep, he imagined placing a wedding ring on her finger. He felt the joy of their wedding day. He assumed they were already married. 3 months later, she broke off her engagement. 6 months later, she married him. Now, you might think this is just coincidence, but Neville's students reported thousands of similar stories. Jobs that seemed impossible, healings that doctors called miraculous, money that appeared from nowhere. The technique is simple, but it requires discipline. You must do this consistently, every night before sleep, sometimes during the day. You must live in your imagination as someone who already has what they want. Don't worry if it feels strange at first. Don't worry if your logical mind rebels. Keep doing it anyway. Eventually, your assumption becomes natural. And when that happens, your outer world reshapes itself to match your inner conviction. Remember, you're not trying to make something happen. You're assuming it already has happened. Neville's second technique is called revision. This might be the most powerful thing he ever taught. Here's the basic idea. You can change the past by revising it in imagination. Now, I know what you're thinking. You can't change the past. What happened, happened. But Neville taught something radical. He said the past only exists in your memory, and memory can be changed. When you revise an event in your imagination, you don't change the physical facts, but you change the psychological impact. You change how that event affects your future. And sometimes, you change how other people remember it too. Here's how it works. At the end of each day, review what happened. If something went well, leave it alone. But if something went badly, if you had an argument, made a mistake, felt embarrassed, or got bad news, revise it. Replay that scene in your mind, but change it to how you wish it had gone. If you had an argument with your spouse, imagine the conversation going smoothly. Imagine both of you staying calm and loving. Imagine reaching a happy agreement. If you got rejected for a job, imagine getting accepted instead. Imagine the interviewer being impressed with you. Imagine them offering you the position on the spot. If you received bad news about your health, imagine receiving good news instead. Imagine the doctor saying, "Everything looks perfect." Make the revised scene feel real. Experience it from the inside. Feel the emotions you would have felt if it really happened that way. Here's one of Neville's most famous examples. A student told him about a terrible fight with his business partner. They had screamed at each other. The partnership was probably over. The student felt awful about it. Neville told him to revise the scene. Every night for a week, the student imagined the conversation going differently. Instead of fighting, they had discussed their problems calmly. Instead of angry words, they had found solutions together. A week later, the business partner called. He apologized for the fight and suggested they meet to work things out. During their meeting, he proposed the exact solutions the student had imagined during his revisions. Was this coincidence? Maybe. But Neville's students reported similar results thousands of times. Here's why revision works. Your subconscious mind stores all your memories and experiences. These memories create beliefs about yourself and the world. Those beliefs create your future experiences. When you revise a negative experience, you plant a new memory in your subconscious. This new memory creates better beliefs. Those better beliefs create better experiences going forward. But revision does something else too. It changes your energy and attitude. When you stop carrying around anger, resentment, and disappointment from the past, you become a magnet for better experiences. Some people report that revision actually changes how other people treat them. The person they had a fight with suddenly becomes friendly. The boss who rejected them offers them a different opportunity. It's as if the other person's memory changed too. Try this tonight. Pick one thing from today that didn't go how you wanted. Revise it in your imagination. Make it perfect. Feel it real. Do this for several nights and watch what happens. Neville's third technique is called the mental diet. This might be the most important one of all. Here's the truth. You talk to yourself all day long. From the moment you wake up to the moment you fall asleep, there's a conversation happening in your head. Most people never pay attention to this inner conversation, but Neville taught that these mental conversations create your reality. What you say to yourself in private becomes your experience in public. Think about it. If you constantly think, I'm so broke, how do you expect to become wealthy? If you always tell yourself, I'm not good enough, how can you expect confidence and success? Your inner conversations are like seeds. Plant negative seeds, get negative results. Plant positive seeds, get positive results. But here's what most people miss. You can't just force positive thoughts. That doesn't work. You have to change the conversation itself. Instead of saying, I need more money, start saying, I have everything I need. Instead of, I hope this works out, say, everything is working perfectly. Instead of, I'm trying to lose weight, say, I'm healthy and fit. The key is to speak to yourself as someone who already has what they want. Neville was very strict about this. He said you must guard your mental conversations like a soldier guards his post. Every negative thought is an enemy trying to destroy your desires. This doesn't mean you ignore problems. It means you don't give problems power through constant mental repetition. If you catch yourself thinking, I'll never get that promotion, immediately change it to, I am successful in my career. If you think, this relationship is falling apart, change it to, my relationship is loving and strong. At first, this feels fake. Your logical mind will rebel. It will say, but that's not true. You are broke. The relationship is struggling. That's normal. Keep doing it anyway. After a few weeks, something shifts. The positive conversations start to feel natural. You stop arguing with yourself, and that's when your outer world begins to change. Neville taught that most people fail because they're impatient. They try his techniques for a few days, don't see instant results, and quit. But changing your mental diet is like changing your physical diet. The benefits build slowly, then suddenly become obvious. Start today. For the next 24 hours, watch every conversation in your head. When you catch a negative thought, flip it immediately. Speak to yourself as someone who already lives the life you want. Now let me tell you why most people fail at Neville's teachings. Understanding this will save you months or years of frustration. The first mistake is treating this like a magic trick. People learn about imagination, creating reality, and they think they can just visualize for 5 minutes and transform their lives. They imagine money, then check their bank account the next day. When nothing changes, they say it doesn't work. But Neville never taught this as a quick fix. He taught it as a way of life. You don't just imagine your desires once in a while. You live from your desires constantly. You assume they're real until assuming becomes natural. The second mistake is chasing evidence. People start visualizing, then spend all day looking for signs that it's working. They analyze every phone call, every email, every conversation for proof that their desires are coming true. This is backwards. Your reality doesn't change when you look for proof. It changes when you stop needing proof. It changes when you're so convinced in imagination that you don't care about evidence. Think about it this way. Do you look for evidence that you're human? Do you check the mirror every day to make sure you still exist? Of course not. You assume you're human without question. That's the kind of assumption you need about your desires. The third mistake is quitting when results don't come instantly. People visualize for a week or a month, see no changes, and give up. They think Neville's teachings are nonsense. But Neville taught that there's always a time lag between assumption and manifestation. Sometimes it's days, sometimes it's months, sometimes it's longer. The key is to persist regardless of appearances. He used to say, do not judge by appearances. Your current circumstances are just the shadow of old assumptions. As you assume new things, new circumstances must appear. But there's always a delay. The fourth mistake is mixing Neville's teachings with other methods. People try to combine his techniques with asking the universe for help, or using affirmations they don't believe, or doing elaborate rituals. But Neville taught something pure and simple. You assume your desire is fulfilled. You live from that assumption. You ignore everything that contradicts it. That's it. The people who succeed with Neville's teachings understand this. They pick one desire, assume it's real, and persist until it appears in their world. They don't look for proof. They don't quit when things look bad. They just assume and persist. Now we come to the deepest part of Neville's teaching. This is what separates his method from every other approach to changing your life. Most people focus on having things. They want to have money, have a relationship, have success, have health. But Neville taught something different. He taught that assumption is about becoming, not having. Let me explain the difference. When you focus on having money, you're assuming you're the kind of person who lacks money but might get some. When you focus on becoming wealthy, you're assuming you're already the kind of person who naturally has abundance. When you focus on finding love, you're assuming you're unlovable but might get lucky. When you focus on being loved, you're assuming you're naturally lovable and love flows to you easily. This shift changes everything. Instead of saying, "I want money," you say, "I am wealthy." Instead of, "I hope someone loves me," you say, "I am loved." Instead of, "I need to lose weight," you say, "I am healthy and fit." This isn't just wordplay. This is identity transformation. Modern psychology backs this up completely. Research shows that lasting change happens when you change your identity, not just your goals. People who see themselves as athletes naturally exercise. People who see themselves as successful naturally make good decisions. People who see themselves as loved naturally attract loving relationships. But here's what's powerful about Neville's approach. He taught that you don't have to wait to become the person you want to be. You can assume that identity right now, in imagination. And as you assume it consistently, it becomes real. This is why some of Neville's students had such dramatic results. They didn't just visualize getting what they wanted. They became the kind of person who naturally has what they wanted. A broke person might visualize money appearing, but a wealthy person doesn't worry about money at all. They assume abundance is natural. A lonely person might visualize meeting someone special, but a loved person assumes they're naturally attractive to others. They don't chase love because they know love flows to them. This is the real secret of Neville's teachings. You don't try to get what you want. You become the kind of person who naturally has what you want. And you do this through assumption, by living in imagination as that person, until the assumption becomes real. When you truly understand this, everything changes. You stop trying to force results and start assuming they're inevitable. Tonight, before you sleep, close your eyes. Choose one desire, just one. Imagine it's already fulfilled. Don't visualize getting it. Visualize having it. Feel it real. Feel grateful it's done. When you wake up tomorrow, carry that assumption with you. Live as someone who already has what they desired. Think from that assumption. Speak from that assumption. Act from that assumption. Do this for 30 days without looking for proof, without doubting, without quitting. The world will begin to bend around that inner picture. That's the power Neville Goddard left us, the power to command reality with your thoughts. Your imagination is not just daydreaming, it's the creative force of the universe. Use it wisely.